Hello everyone, welcome back to this new life. Before I start, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my first 2 subscribers. Yay! Someone called Violana and my husband. Thank you guys for having signed up to walk with me through this new life. Okay, today's topic is about the vocabulary differences between Australian English and American English. That is, for the same object, the same action, the same phenomenon, native speakers of Australian English and American English would have different words for them. Now, who am I? What's my authority on the topic? Well, something and nobody, but I spent pretty much a third of my life in Australia, and so I heard people call certain things certain ways. And so when I moved here, which was a bit more than a year ago, I started noticing the differences. And now here I am doing this talk on the topic. And so without further ado, let's begin. The first pair I have here is ute versus pickup truck. For the vehicle that Aussies would call a ute, American English speakers would call it a pickup truck. Next, if you go to Coles or Woolies to get some sort of veggies to eat with pasta, you would get a bag of rocket in Australia, but a bag of arugula in the US, or arugula if I were to attempt the American accent. Then, while you're at it, you might also want some wumbok, a type of yellow Chinese cabbage, for hot pot tonight. Hang on. If you are in the US, you have to look for Napa cabbage instead, because apparently the term wumbok is not used in North America. And what's called capsicum in Australia is bell pepper in the US, and the UK too, if you're so inclined. It's safe to drink water from a tap in Australia and the US too, but a tap is called a faucet in the US. Interestingly, despite the difference in the names of the device where water flows from, you would say tap water in both places. Next one, the stereotypical prawn versus shrimp. I'm sure we all know which one is used in Australia and which one in the US, though occasionally you would see there was shrimp at Asian markets in Australia and prawn at some restaurants in the US. I'm still not quite sure what that's about. If you have any idea, let me know in the comments below. Moving on, let's go get some takeaway food in Australia and take out in the US. Now, if you happen to see someone suspicious around your neighborhood or committing a crime, you can dope them in to the Australian police or dope on them in Australia, but you would knock on them in the US. And a torch in Australian English is a flashlight in American English. You know, the cylindrical tube with batteries inside? Well, the word torch exists in American English too, but with the old-fashioned meaning of a torch, that is a stick with flame on one end. CBD stands for Central Business District. It's used in Australia to refer to what's called downtown in the US. And COB is close to business. The abbreviation is used very often in business contexts, especially business emails in Australia. But when I said it to my American husband, he didn't get what it means. In the US, people would just say closing time or end of the day. Another interesting difference is the choice of prepositions for this idiom, on the cards versus in the cards. They both mean likely to happen, but Aussies use the preposition on while Americans use in. When I lived in Sydney, I rented a granny flat, which is like a studio behind my awesome landlord and landlady's garage. The equivalent of the Australian granny flat is the American in-law apartment. And a lemon meringue tart in Australian English is a lemon meringue pie in American English. Now, have you watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine? If you have, then I'm sure you're familiar with Terry's obsession with suspenders. You know, the two straps attached to pants and worn over shoulders? They are called braces in Australia. And yes, I'm aware braces have another meaning too. Next up, rubbish bin versus trash can. Rubbish in Australia is trash in the US, though I believe the term garbage is used in both countries. Bill and check. After finishing a meal at restaurants in Australia, you would ask for the bill or go to the counter to fix the bill. In the US, you can still ask for the bill, but most people would ask for the check. At weddings in Australia, you would need a celebrant to perform or lead the ceremony, but in the US, you would need an officiant to do the same job. This next difference is probably not so well known because it's related to permanent residency. When a permanent resident leaves their respective country for an extended period of time beyond the certain time period they're generally allowed, they would need a type of document to let them get back in. That document is called a return visa in Australia, but a re-entry permit in the US. And the amount of money that you agree to pay when you buy insurance is called excess in Australia, but deductible in the US. A popular summer snack for kids in general is ice on a stick. Aussies call them icy poles, while they're known in the US as popsicles. And fairy floss in Australian English is cotton candy in American English. When it gets cold, you would normally need a type of bedding that can keep you warm, so you would go buy a doona in Australia, but a comforter in the US, or comforter in the American accent. Next word, budgie. Many of us keep these birds with colorful feathers at home as pets. They are known as budgies in Australian English, but parakeets in American English. Alright, the second to last pair, lead versus leash. When you walk your dog at the park or on the beach, you would generally keep it on a lead in Australia, but on a leash in the US. Last one, have you ever tried a type of Hong Kong breakfast or brunch that is called yum cha in Australia? Well, it's called dim sum in the US. From what I read, these two terms are slightly different. Yum cha refers to the whole dining experience with drinking tea and eating dim sum, while dim sum only refers to the food. Well, that was my current list of the vocabulary differences between Australian English and American English, and I'm sure the list will get longer as I go. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Hi, take the camera, hey Enzo.